Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another Glacial Geek Kill Team Battle Report. I am Phil, the Glacial Geek, coming to you here from Savannah Line Games in Pooler, Georgia, where I'll be fighting a kill team battle between my Deathwatch and Joey's Harlequins. So the story that we've got here is that an Imperial planet developed, an Imperial society developed on this planet that had formerly been the homeworld for some Harlequins, for the originators of the Harlequins. And little did they know, when the Harlequins found out about it, they decided that they needed to come back to this planet and decided to take out the Imperial citizenry here in order to save their the soul stones of some of their ancestors that were on this planet. When the Deathwatch heard tell of this, they sent out a kill team to go purge the alien from this planet and take out all of their soul stones as they could in order to just, really stick it to the alien. So that is the story that we've got going on here. We are going to be playing the narrative play mission of Faint. So essentially, we've got we start on two sides of the table of the board here, and we've placed out 6 objectives in the middle here. So there's 6 objectives that are all at least 5 inches away from each other and 5 inches away from the table edge, and we alternated placing them on the table. And each of these objectives is essentially what happens is, at the end of the game, any objective marker that's still on the table, the defender will score 2 points. So in this case, Joey and his Harlequins are going to be the defenders. So any soul stone that is still on the table at the end of the game, he scores 2 points for. For every soul stone that I'm able to remove from play, I score 1 victory point. If I break him, I get an additional victory point, and for each of his specialists that I kill, I score an additional victory point. And then at the end, whoever has more victory points wins. I can remove an objective with a stratagem. Essentially, I choose at the end of any battle round. I choose an objective that I control, and I spend 1 CP, and it's removed from play. So that's how I score my victory points. And then if any are left at the end, he scores victory points from those. So it seemed like a pretty well balanced narrative play mission, just really fun. I think it'll be cool, just trying it out. So that is the story, and that is the mission that we're going to be playing. Before we go any further, though, let's show you the 2 kill teams that are going to be fighting it out today. So for the Deathwatch kill team here, I have an Intercessor Sergeant who will be my leader. I have a Watch Sergeant who will be my combat specialist. He has a Xeno Phase Blade and a bolt gun. I have a Watch Gunner with a frag cannon. He will be my demolitions expert. I then have 3 veterans with bolt guns. My veteran with the Dark Angel shoulder pad will be my comms specialist. And for the Harlequins, he will be running a bunch of players. From the left there, we have his leader. We have the 3 specialists who will be Combat, Zealot, and Scout, and then 2 regular players. The leader has the Harlequin's Kiss, and everyone has fusion pistols. They have the Harlequin's Kiss on the leader. The specialists all have Harlequin Embraces, and the 2 regular players on the side there, they have Harlequin Blades. All right, so going over deployment now. Those are the 2 kill teams. Going over deployment, I have my leader and my Intercessor Sergeant over here. I've got my demolitions with the frag cannon here. I've got a regular veteran there, regular veteran in front there. I've got my combat specialist, Watch Sergeant right here, and then I've got my comm specialist over here. Going over deployment for the Harlequins, we have his. This is the, which specialist was this one? This was the. This is the Zealot specialist back over here. We've got regular troop player over here. We've got regular player in the front there. We've got his, this is the scout specialist here. We've got the combat specialist right over here. And in the back there, we have his leader over there. So that is the deployment. We are now going to roll for initiative here for turn 1. So roll 2d6. I win with a 7, so I will be doing my movement first, and we'll come back to you after movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 1. All right, movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 1. I readied my leader, I readied my demo expert, and I readied my comms specialist. I then moved up these 3 guys up into the little gap over here, and that is it for the movement phase. So we will come back to you with the movement phase for the Harlequins here on turn 1. All right, so actually everyone is going to be charging, so we're going to have these on a camera here. So it's going to start with his combat specialist. Because he's got flip belts, he gets to ignore vertical distance for any of his movements here. And he's going to declare my combat specialist, my comms specialist, and my demolitions expert as targets for the charge. Because Harlequins can charge 3d6, and they can declare charges within 18 inches as opposed to 12. So all of them are within 18 inches, so he's going to declare them all in this turn here. So we're going to start with him charging into all three of these guys. So they can't see him, so they don't get to do it. He gets an 8-inch charge, which means he's not going to get to the back guys, but he is going to get into the combat guy there. So we'll move him and move on. All right, his regular player over here is going to charge into my two regular guys over here. They cannot see him, so he will get another free charge here. 6 inches might not make him in there. No, it's not going to get him into charge into the range there, but he will still be able to move if he so desires. And now his specialist over here, this is the Zealot specialist, is going to charge into the same two guys. Getting it with 13, exactly what he needed to get in. All right, his regular player here is going to charge into these two guys here, and he's going to charge into these guys back over here. So this guy here isn't engaged because his other player didn't get enough to get both of them engaged here, so he just got the first guy engaged. But all three of these guys are now going to fire Overwatch on him there. He's not within 24 inches, but not within 12, so he only gets one shot. He's within 12, so he gets 2 shots. So we're going to do all 3 of them here. They're going to use the special issue ammunition of the 2s to wound. So this is going to be 3 shots hitting on 6s, so show me that fill faces. Getting 1 fill face, so looking for a 2. That is a wound with a 6 with a fill face. So here we go, looking for a 4-up invul save. He gets it. So then the frag cannon, 24 inches, going to be the shell because he's outside of flamer range. So this is going to be two shots here, looking for 6s as well. Not getting either of those. So here comes his charge distance. Oh, really far, getting him in there. All right, now this guy here is going to charge into everybody over here. So the one guy is still not engaged into here because this guy moved all the way over here to engage them. So now this is going to be into this guy is going to get Overwatched here, is within 12, so looking for 2 shots, looking for 6s. Show me that fill faces. No fill faces, so his charge distance is really moving. And his leader advanced up over there. And that is the end of the movement phase for the Harlequins. So we'll come back to you maybe with the shooting phase. If not, we'll come back to you with the fight phase. All right, so no shooting involved because he managed to keep all the 2 guys that were not engaged in combat out of line of sight of my 1 guy that's not engaged in combat. So we're going to move into the fight phase, at which point I'm going to spend 2 points for decisive strike to allow my combat specialist to go first. So he is going to strike first into his specialist over here. So I've got he's a watch sergeant, so he's got 3 attacks base plus 1 because he's a combat specialist. So I've got 3 attacks. These are going to be hitting on 3s. All right, 3 hits. Strength 4, toughness 3, so wounding on 3s. All right, so that's going to be 3 wounds. He has 4-up invul saves, and he has to re-roll failed invuls, successful invul saves because of the Xeno phase blade. So here we go. 3 4-up invul saves. Failed 2 of them anyway. So he's going to be taking, he's already done the 1 damage. So he's going to be taking a save. So yeah, so we're not even going to bother about re-rolling that 6, even though you should have. But so now we have the 1 injury roll that we will do here. So it's plus nothing because of he doesn't have any runes there. So looking for a 4-up. That is a 5. So he is removed from play. All right, so now his chargers will start attacking. So we're going to go with the guy in the front there into my regular veteran over here. So he's going to have, 4 attacks?
Yep.
Ooh, 4 attacks here. Hitting on 3s. Yeah, 4 attacks hitting on 3s. All right, so that's 2 hits. These are going to be strength 4, so looking for 4s to wound. Getting 2 wounds. These are AP minus 3, so I have 2 6-up saves to make. Showing them fill faces. Not getting either of them. So the wound roll here is a 4. He is out of action. All right, so now his scout specialist is going to attack into my guy over here. He's got 4 attacks here. These are going to be hitting on 3s. All right, all hits here. These are going to be wounding on 4s, strength 4. Getting 2 wounds. Again, looking for fill faces. Show me them 2 fill faces. Nope, getting neither of them. So the injury roll here is out of action. All right, so now his regular player here is going to attack into my frag cannon guy. So he has 4 attacks. These are going to be hitting on 3s. All right, getting 2 hits. These are now going to be wounding on 5s because he's strength 3. These are because these are with the blades, so no wounds there. All right, so my guys here are now going to get their attacks back. We're going to start with my frag cannon guy, just because, doesn't make a difference. So it's going to be 2 attacks here. These are going to be hitting on 3s. Okay, getting 1 hit. This is going to be wounding on a 3. That is a wound with a fill face. So here we go, 4-up invul save. No, fail that. He's going to spend a command point to reroll that. Into a 6, he's good. And now my guy here is going to attack into him. 2 attacks hitting on 3s. That is 2 hits. These are going to be wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds, 2 4-up invul saves. Fails 1 of them. So here we go. Injury roll. Looking for a 4-up. Oh, 2. Takes a flesh wound. And that is the end of turn 1 here. Nobody has to take any morale tests because we've got 1 guy with a flesh wound, but he is we've only got 1 guy out of combat there, so we can't fail his nerve test. So no one has to do that. No one is broken at this, or has to roll to see if they're broken at this point. So nothing to worry about there. I also don't have any command points, so I'm not able to destroy one of these objectives for points here because I had to use the 2 in order to save my combat specialist. So that is going to be it for turn 1 here. At the end of the turn, we will now roll to see who will have the initiative coming into the next turn. So my roll here. I rolled an 8. My opponent rolled a 9, so he will go first. So we'll come back to you after movement phase for the Harlequins here on turn 2. All right, so movement phase. This guy here, his specialist, this is the scout specialist, is going to charge into these 2 guys back over here. They cannot fire Overwatch since they are engaged in combat there. His charge distance of 4 inches should get him into combat. And his other specialist back there is going to do the exact same thing with a lot better roll. All right, so now his regular player over here is going to charge into my combat specialist. I'm going to fire Overwatch because he can see him through there. So it's going to be 2 shots looking for 6s. Show me them fill faces. Not getting any of them. So here comes his charge distance. 8 inches should be, well, 1 second. All right, he was just out of actually getting engaged over there, so he just moved up over to there. And his leader moved back over there. So that is going to be it for the movement phase for the Harlequins here on turn 2. We'll come back to you with the movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 2. All right, so I am now going to charge with my leader here into all 3 of these guys over here. So we're going to roll the distance, making it in with 7. And my combat specialist is going to charge into all 3 of his players back over here. Getting them in with 7. All right, so this is the start of the fight phase now. Since everyone got charged, so no one can shoot at anybody because you can't shoot pistols if you've been charged, and you can't shoot pistols if you've charged. So anyone who has pistols can't shoot them because they've either charged or been charged. So now I spent 2 command points to make myself go first over here because I didn't have the initiative. So then my opponent spent 2 command points to counteract that. So now we're going to roll off to see who lost 2 command points for no reason. So here we go. Winner gets to go first. 5 and 9, he will go first. Killer. All right, so we'll come back to you with that. All right, so now his veteran, or his zealot is going to attack into my Xenophase Blade guy over here. So here we go. He's got 5 attacks now because he's +1 on the charge and +1 strength, so it's going to be strength 5. So there's going to be 5 attacks hitting on 3s, and because he has the embrace, they're going to be +1 strength there, so it's going to be strength 5 total for wounding on 3s. So here we go. 5 attacks hitting on 3s. All right, 4 hits. Wounding on 3s. Oh boy, 4 wounds. Can I roll 4 6-ups? Show me 4 fill faces. Do it! 4 fill faces! No, not a single fill face. Oh boy. So, here we go. 1 wound. 1 roll here for the injury roll. Oh, with a 3, it's a flesh wound. Oh boy.
Kill that thing.
Oh no, he's gonna re-roll with a command point here. Oh, into a 1, still a flesh wound. All right, so now my intercessor sergeant who charged is going to attack into his player that also charged over here. His this one's the scout specialist. So here we go. He's got 3 attacks here, hitting on 3s. All right, 2 hits with fill faces. Let's see if that means anything. Wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds. 2 4-up invul saves. Oh, makes them both with decisiveness. All right, and now his scout specialist is going to attack into my comm specialist over here. So he's got 4 attacks here, hitting on 3s. Getting 4 hits. These are going to be wounding on 4s because he doesn't have the zealot. Getting 1 wound. AP -3 though, so 6-up save. Show me that fill furs. Yeah, with the fill furs. Woo! And now my combat specialist will attack into his zealot specialist back over here. Because he has transhuman physiology, he ignores that first flesh wound. So these are going to be 4 attacks because he's a combat specialist and a sergeant. These are going to be hitting on 3s. All right, getting 2 hits. These are now going to be wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds at AP -3, but he doesn't care. 4-up invul saves. Reroll, oh, it doesn't make a difference because we just got the 1 wound that goes through anyway. He would have had to reroll the invul saves, but he just can only take this 1. Looking for a 4-up on the injury roll. No, he takes a flesh wound. All right, so now his regular player here will go first because we've done all the chargers, so now he still has initiative, so the first regular guy will go into my frag cannon guy over here. So 4 attacks, hitting on 4s now because she has a flesh wound. Getting 2 hits, wounding on 5s because she just has the regular blades. Not getting any wounds. All right, so now my frag cannon guy is going to attack into his zealot specialist back over here. 2 attacks, hitting on 3s. That is 2 hits, wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds, 4-up invul saves. Failing 1, so now we have a +1 to this roll because of the flesh wound already suffered. Yeah, he's out of combat. And then my comm specialist is going to attack into the into the scout specialist over there. So it's going to be 2 attacks here, hitting on 3s. Getting 2 hits, wounding on 3s. Getting 1 wound, 1 4-up invul save. No, goes through. Roll on the injury roll is a 4 out of combat. All right, so that is the end of turn 2 here. We have to now check to see, we have to do morale phase at the end of the turn here. My guy has a flesh wound, but I've only got 2 guys out of action because he's the watch sergeant. He has a leadership of 9 and can't fail. But my opponent now has 3 out of action and 1 with a flesh wound, so he has to check to see if he's broken. So he's going to be rolling 2d6. The highest leadership is an 8 on the board there with his leader, so 2d6 looking for an 8 or lower than an 8, so he's good to go, so he's not broken. But he still has to take a nerve test now for this guy over here. So he has 3 guys out of action right now, so that is going to be, he's not within 2 inches of anybody there, so it's just going to be a +3 to the roll here. So if he rolls a 6, he will have failed the nerve test. Does not, so he has a leadership of 8, so he is good to go. So nobody is shaken. But that is the end of the turn here. I cannot, because again, out of command points, which turns out I didn't have to spend, but what ifs. It forced my opponent to spend it, so I guess there's that benefit. But I cannot destroy any of the objectives any of the objectives this turn. So that is going to be it for the turn here. We will now roll our rolls to see who will have the initiative going into turn 3. My opponent rolls a 7 and I rolled an 8, so I will actually be going first. So I'll come back to you after the movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 3. All right, my movement phase, he is going to charge into his player over there. My combat specialist, the only one that's out of combat there. Everyone else is going to stay in combat, and he is way in with a 10-inch charge. All right, movement phase for the Harlequins here on turn 3. His player over here is going to charge into these dude bros over here. So needing 7 inches to get into combat with anybody. Getting in with a 9-inch charge. And now the leader is going to charge in over here, needing 14 inches to get in. Pretty awesome with their charge ability. Oh, wow, that's real far. But that's real far. But not enough to get in, but he will move him for his 11 inches and get him closer over there. So that's going to be it for the movement phase. We will come back to you with no shooting because I charged his guy in combat with a pistol. So that means that he can't shoot, and then he charged my guy with a pistol, so I can't shoot. So no shooting this turn. We will come back to you with the fight phase. All right, so starting off with the chargers here, I've got my guy with the Xenophase Blade into his player there with the flesh wound. So I've got 4 attacks because of the combat specialist hitting on 3s. Alrighty, getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds. 4 up invul saves. Failing 1, that's all that matters for that. So +1 because of the flesh wound to this. 3, so that's another flesh wound. All right, now his player that charged in is going to attack into my comm specialist over here. So she's got 4 attacks here, hitting on 3s. That's 2 hits. Wounding on 5s, right? Because there's no plus to that. No wounds there. And now my veteran with the frag cannon is going to start us off with the people that were already engaged in combat over there. Going to attack into the flesh wounded player. 2 attacks hitting on 3s. That's 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. That is 2 wounds. Looking for 4 up invul saves. Ooh, fails them. +2 to this roll. But +2 is 4. I was like, oh, come on. So that's going to be out of action. All right, so now my sergeant is going to attack into the player over here. So 3 attacks because of being a sergeant. Hitting on 3s. Getting 2 hits. Wounding on 3s. That is going to be 2 wounds. Looking for 4 up invul saves. Failing 1. He's going to spend a command point to reroll that. Into a 4 or 5. Good to go. And now my combat specialist. 1 hit. Comms specialist, not combat. 1 wound. 1 save. All right, so that's the end of the turn here, end of turn 3. We do have in the morale phase to check to see if my opponent is broken, because he's got 4 guys out of combat now. So these are going to be looking for 8 or less to be unbroken. Oh, with an 11, he is broken. So so now that he's broken, they have to take nerve tests because of that for each of these guys. So we'll start with him over here. So there's 4 out of combat, so it's going to be +4 to this. So just 1d6. Looking for 5. That becomes 9. So he is not out of combat. He's just shaken. And then your leader over there is good to go. So that is going to be it for that. So we've got shaken and good to go, and my opponent is broken. So we will come back to you. Oh no, now we have to roll to see who will have the initiative going into turn 4. Wow, really wanted it that time apparently with my double fill faces. So we will come back to you after movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 4. I actually spent the 1 command point. Forgot to tell you that I'm going to spend the 1 command point to cause mayhem and destroy the objective there, so that I've got that. So that will be it for that. So now we'll come back to you after movement phase for the Deathwatch. All right, movement phase. He moved over here onto this objective, and then he is going to charge into this player over here. So that will get him in, and that will be the end of the movement phase for the Deathwatch here on turn 3. So we'll come back to you, 4. So we'll come back to you with movement phase for the Harlequins.
Just your leader.
All right, so now his leader here is going to charge into my leader over here. So here comes his roll for that. Definitely getting him in. All right, so there's not going to be any shooting phase because he charged my 1 guy with a pistol, and I charged his 1 guy with a pistol. And my guy over here doesn't have anyone out of combat to shoot with his frag cannon. Sad face. So here comes the attacks, though. In the fight phase, I get to go first with the initiative with my charger into his player over there. So this is going to be my combat specialist, Sergeant. 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. Okay, 1 hit. Wounding on a 3. That's a fill phase, so here we go. 4 up invul save. No, goes through. So here comes, do you want to spend a command point? 1 second.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, he's going to spend the command point to reroll that. No, so the injury roll here. 3, takes a flesh wound. All right, so now his leader here is going to attack into my leader because he charged, so he gets to go over here. So this is going to be 4 attacks, hitting on 3s. That is going to be 1 hit, wounding on a strength 4, so wounding on a 4. No wound there. All right, my comm specialist is going to attack into his player over there, the injured one. So it's going to be 2 attacks, hitting on a 3. That's going to be 1 hit, wounding on a 3. That is a wound. 4 up invul save. No, goes through. +1 to the roll. 2, so another flesh wound. And my sergeant's now going to attack into the wounded, shaken player over there. So it's 3 attacks, hitting on 3s. That's 1 hit, wounding on a 3. That is not a wound. All right, and that is the end of the turn here. I will spend a command point to burn that objective there, bringing me down to 2. And we have some nerve tests to take. So we're going to start with the leader over here. +1 for being within 2 inches of another model, a friendly model, but -1 because of that, and +4 because of the models that are out of action here. So it's going to be looking for anything but a 6, and he'll be fine. All right, so the leader is fine, and the same thing for the other troop. They're good too. So no failed tests this turn. So we will find out now, actually, if we go on to a turn, onto a turn 5. So the attacker has to roll. On a 3 up, we go on to turn 5. Oh, we will. So we will now roll for initiative for that. My opponent wins it with an 11, so we will come back to you after with the movement phase for the Harlequins here on turn 5. All right, so the Harlequin movement phase, it didn't move anybody. They were just stayed in combat over there. So on my movement phase, I fell back with my leader over here onto the other objective there, stayed in combat with these 2, and I readied my frag cannon dude bro. So that is going to be it for the movement phase. We will come back to you with the shooting phase. All right, so because I readied, I go first over here with my frag cannon bro into his leader. So 2d6 auto hits. It's going to be 4 auto hits. We'll come back to that.
Don't wound me.
All right, so 4 hits there. These are going to be strength 6, so wounding on 2s. Getting 1-1, so it's going to be 3 wounds here. 3 4-up invul saves. Failing 2 of them, so even if he spent the command point, he wouldn't be able to reroll enough of them. So here comes the injury roll. On a 4-up, he's out of action. With a 6 with a fill face. He's out of action. All right, so now the shooting attacks will happen into here. My opponent has initiative, so his dude bro here is going to shoot into which one of them? Into the combat specialist over here with his fusion pistol. So he has -2 to the hit because of the 2 flesh wounds, so looking for a 5 to hit. No hit there. It's going to spend a command point to re-roll that. Into a 6, that's a hit. So this is strength 8, right? Yep. So wounding on a 2. No wound. All right, so that's it for the shooting phase. Into the fight phase, his guy will go first because he has initiative. So he's going to attack into my combat specialist sergeant over there. So he's going to have 4 attacks, hitting on 5s though because of the 2 flesh wounds. Getting 1 hit, wounding on a 5 again because there's no plus to the strength there. No wound there. All right, my opponent's going to spend a command point because this is a new phase to re-roll that one, looking for a 5 to wound. Yeah, that's a wound. Here we go. 3-up armor save. Oh, and I failed it. So here comes the injury roll here, +1 because of the wound there. No, another flesh wound. All right, so now my combat specialist is going to attack in because he has the 2 wounds there. The transhuman physiology only ignores 1 of them, so I'm going to be at a -1 to hit here. 4 attacks, hitting on 4s. All right, so 2 hits, wounding on 3s. Getting 2 wounds, looking for 4-up invul saves. Making them both, but re-rolling because of the Xenophase Blade. Oh, failed them. So here we go. +2 to the roll. Oh, and he's out. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the game with a tabling of the Harlequins. Because at the end of the turn, I would also have popped this, which in the game points wise, I would have had 3 plus 3 for his specialist being out of combat, and +1 because of his +1 because of them being broken. So that would have put me with 7 points, and my opponent would have had 2, 4, 6 points. So I technically also won on points because it wasn't looking great like I was going to be able to do that. So I did manage to pull it out at the end there with the points, and also with the tabling of the Harlequins. Whew, man, that was things went really the way I needed them to go that turn, that game. So my Deathwatch did really well. My dice were with me, and the Xeno Phase Blade. That is the key to take if you're going up against Harlequins. Apparently, making them re-roll those invul saves really made a big difference. So it's pretty awesome to be able to do that. And putting the Watch Sergeant with the Xeno Phase Blade with a combat specialist, giving him the ability then to have like 4 attacks. That's pretty awesome. I think he might become a staple in my Deathwatch kill team. So an awesome game. I had a ton of fun. I really am enjoying Kill Team, and that was playing one of the narrative play missions, which is, I felt it was pretty balanced. Like when going into it, we both agreed like it was pretty evenly balanced. It forced me to have to come out and get into the mix of things in order to take out the objectives, and it played to both of our strengths. Like I needed to get out, which meant that I couldn't just sit in a castle and just shoot him from behind cover, and he wanted to get in my face anyway, which did the double benefit of getting into my face and getting all the benefits that he has with his close shooting and also with all of his close combat weapons, but also allowed him to kind of tie me up in the back line over here, so keeping me from getting out to objectives. And there was 2 turns there where I couldn't get rid of objectives, and it meant that I was kind of on the back foot trying to garner points in the game. So if it had gone a different way and people had survived, who knew what was going to happen? So, but yeah, it was a ton of fun. I had a blast. I certainly hope all of you have had a blast. I have been Phil the Glacial Geek as always. My opponent's been Joey, and until next time, have fun.